So this case was submitted by a doctor for a custom abutment in the inLAB software for tooth number 31. And the reason I'm making this video is just to discuss some of the most common issues with getting bad proposals with the inLAB software with abutments. Now if you look at this case, the first step of the custom abutment is of course just forming a normal biogeneric crown. And I'm not going to pay attention to the occlusion or the context. You guys know how to fix those. But if you look at this crown, it's from the occlusal, it's very, very nice. Nice contours, nice shape. He did a good job with the proposal. But if you rotate it to the facial, you'll see that the emergence profile from the titanium base to the clinical crown is very concave. Okay, this is just the way the software tends to propose these custom abutments when the implant's placed a little bit deep. So if we put on the display options and turn on the lower gingiva, you'll see, that looks pretty good as far as an emergence profile with the tissue up. Okay, but if you go ahead, we'll turn the gingiva off. If we right click and go ahead and split this case into our custom abutment, you'll see what happens. What happens is, you get kind of an undermined area of zirconia. You've got a minimal thickness issue. It's just not an adequate proposal. So let's go ahead and unsplit this crown. And the way that you want to fix this is you want to use a combination of your circular shape tool and your smooth tool to form a nice emergence from the titanium base to the crown. The best way to think about this is just kind of envision to yourself the way that a normal tooth looks. I mean, normal teeth from the clinical crown to the root don't do this. So you need to form an emergence profile that's nice in smooth transition, from what would be the root to the clinical crown. So let's go ahead and display options. Let's trim the model. And we'll go ahead and we'll right click on this, turn our circular shape on. Let's get it nice and big, and what we're going to do is we're just going to circular shape this out, and kind of overdo it a little bit. Just get it out a little bit there. Just kind of go around. And start to form that emergence profile a little bit better. So once you do that, we're going to right click, we're going to hit our smooth tool. And we're just going to start to smooth that transition. Okay? And once you're done, it's going to look something like this. So you can see the difference on the transition from the clinical crown into the titanium base, that it's nice and smooth, a nice transition. Let's go ahead and turn off our trim. We can go ahead and turn on our gingival mask. So we still see we have the nice profile from the gingiva into the clinical crown. We'll turn off the gingival mask. Now when we go ahead and we split this case, we'll see we get a much nicer proposal. So there's your proposal. You don't see a minimal thickness. Now what I will say is for this case, a millimeter is probably too much. I know it's a millimeter from the parameters, and I'll show you that in a second. So, but it is a much nicer proposal. If we go into parameters, we'll see that the shoulder width is 1,000. So if we just simply want to take that and bring it down to 600, which is my preference, and hit OK, you'll see that it's even better. Okay, so this is just kind of one of the things I want to discuss. I see it time and time again. Just really pay attention to two things. Pay attention to your emergence profile. Make sure you use your circular shape tool and your smooth tool to make a nice transition from your titanium base and your clinical crown. Then also pay attention to your shoulder width. It defaults at a millimeter. You really don't need a millimeter unless it's maybe right at the tissue. So you want to control those two aspects and you'll get a much nicer proposal. Now looking at this, there's still some work to do. You might want to use your scale tool and scale hole to actually lower the height of that abutment so you have more room for your Emax proposal. You can actually even turn on your tissue, and if you wanted to lower that, you could certainly lower it whole, or you could take occlusal, take off scale hole, and just do individual parts to get it subgingival. Okay? There you go. If you wanted to check exactly where it was in relation to the tissue, just turn the tissue transparent and you can see exactly where that margin is in comparison to your tissue. So hopefully that helps you guys get better proposals, and if you have any questions, always ask.